Hit it, baby.
I think we're live. Hey, everyone. Andrew Hall, Big Zebra, Tobin. Good morning, gentlemen. I hope you're all doing well.
Howdy,
I
peeps.
am. Thank you.
I was able to get a lot of stuff done this morning. What's up, B? Because I had a shit night's sleep last night. And so I did some drinking, which I've been trying to curtail, but I was really busy yesterday. And then there was birthday activities, and maybe I was self-medicating. A little bit, just a little bit. So, yeah. But hey, I got up at like 5:30, so I got stuff done.
Woo!
Great.
Heck yeah.
The self-medication isn't necessarily a bad thing, especially if it's really good, strong medication, like a vodka tonic.
No, it was my basic rum and coke, and then they gave the girlfriend an extra a little personalized scorpion bowl, and since she was driving, she couldn't drink it, so she gave it to me, and so that meant I probably would have been okay if I only had 2 drinks, but the third
scorpion bowl?
Yeah, a little scorpion bowl. It's basic. You don't know what a scorpion bowl is? Maybe it's something just in the Northeast. Scorpion bowl. Let me see if I can Google this quickly and give you what it is. A scorpion bowl. Scorpion bowl is a communally shared alcoholic tiki drink served in a large ceramic bowl, traditionally decorated with Hula Girl Island scenes and meant to be drunk through long straws. You haven't lived if you haven't gone scorpion bowling. I have to tell you that.
Oh, I have heard of it, but it wasn't called a scorpion bowl. It sounds a bit unhealthy. People drinking through straws from a shared drink.
Yeah, this was a personalized one, so maybe, perhaps, the days. Well, I don't know. What's up, Cindy?
There she is.
Scorpion bowls, of all things. Cindy's here to elevate the conversation. Hopefully, I don't know. So,
well, you were talking about communal drinks, and I wanted to bring up the matter of communal toilets, where you all go at once, and I think that's disgusting. And I prefer privacy, one person at a time.
Well, I don't know how that goes with your herd in terms of, other zebras, but whatever works for you, right? How you doing, Cindy? How's the foot?
Yes. The foot is doing okay. Pain is mostly gone as long as I don't move the foot too much. But yeah, the issue is still moving around, cooking, transporting food, drinks. I have to go for groceries because I don't have anything left to eat. But yeah, that's.
Do they have door deliveries for groceries there?
Door delivery, I don't know.
There are some, like grocerygateway.com, but I don't know if they have something similar in Europe or not.
I don't know. My idea was to go to one big store. They offer a delivery on site, so I can order from here and then go and pick up. That sounds a nice compromise.
Sure.
But yeah, it's a small problem because many people have it, and so.
Do you have to wear a boot? Do you have to wear one of those kind of? Yeah.
Yeah, and I have to put one on top of it to shower.
Oh,
man.
Yeah. A friend of mine broke her wrist maybe a month and a half ago, and she found bathing particularly difficult because you had to wrap it up.
Yeah, I bought this specific thing. It's like a round thing like this with I don't know if it's silicone or something, but it's elastic, so you can put your arm or your leg through it, and then it closes, and then after that you have a big plastic thing, and so it renders your entire leg waterproof.
Waterproof, but not blood-proof. Hopefully, you still have circulation.
Yeah.
You want the circulation.
So how are you guys doing?
Oh, shit night's sleep, but otherwise okay. Busy day for me yesterday because I was on Wes's show. We recorded just a few bits, and then I ran out to do my daughter's birthday get together, and then I ran back here and toss and turn when I slept. See, this is me just complaining. Cindy, you should never ask me how I'm doing because I'll be like, let me tell you about my problems.
Well, if I don't, you won't talk about it. I mean, I have the same issue when I'm on the PSF network. I ask people questions, but I never answer them myself, so I don't talk about myself. And you host the same way.
Oh yeah. Whenever I actually do host, when I do like interviews or hosting, I try to tone down my narcissism. Put it down to a manageable amount.
Lordy.
Indeed.
Well, I wish I had interesting news, but I've got nothing. Nothing.
Well, last week you have Tobin?
Oh no, I was just saying, man, that Big Z doesn't have any news.
Last week we talked about the Dawa movement.
Yes, we did.
And so I did a bit more research, and it's it's the fastest growing movement in Islam right now. They claim they have at least 5 million people in the Middle East. But again, it's the fastest growing, so it will be bigger very, very soon. And so they have a very different view of proselytizing. I don't remember how to say it. Yeah. And so basically, they're like
proselytizing.
Proselytizing, yes. Thanks.
I couldn't say it either.
They're a bit like Mormons. They're going outside with backpacks and they're trying to talk to people and engage them and ask them to pray with them. But this part is supposedly very harmless. They just try to engage with people and not force them to convert, but just trigger the discussions, the thinking, and all that. But there's also the idea that they don't want to be a political movement, which I still don't know if it's a good thing or a bad thing. On one hand, it means they won't try to get people on to office to force their view into people, but they do it in another way. They do it by conversion. So their goal is to, on one hand, bring Muslims back to what they think is the right version of Islam, and also convert as many people as possible, like all theists, basically, or most theists, I should say. But they have this view that I find hypocritical, because they claim they don't want to, how can I say that? They don't want to change our views, but they want to adopt their religion anyway. When you see Khalil, because I was there through his conversion, we were supposed to have a show a few weeks before this whole thing happened, and we talked, and so basically what happened is that for about, I don't know, 9 months before that, he had this, every morning he had this open mic show. He started a conversation on Messenger, and then anyone who wanted to come could come and just talk. And at first it was very nice, because the usual atheist, open-minded people, and we talked about philosophy and these kind of things. But then that's I think that's how his 2 or 3 Muslim friends got into him. It's because they started joining those discussions, and they started shifting his view. Several people left this channel because those Muslims started being abusive, like homophobic, like transphobic also. And so after a while, pretty much everyone left. So I'm pretty sure the group doesn't exist anymore. But that's how they got to him. And then you mentioned last week that Khalil says that he was love bombed and he was convinced on a philosophical level. And I don't know, like 2 weeks after he announced his conversion on Facebook, I had a private discussion with him about the Kalam. And he wasn't able to say whether the Kalam was an inductive or a deductive argument. So, which is, I mean, the first thing you learn when you study logic is the 3 different types of arguments and how they're made, like premises, conclusion, and that basic rules. And he didn't understand that, and because he didn't, he brought his friends into the discussion, even though it was supposed to be just one-on-one. And I assume you had this issue as well.
You know, for me, when any kind of conversation, I don't know. I believe in rules myself. You know, this might sound strange, that if we're going to have a conversation and if we already agreed that it's just going to be the two of us, then I feel like that's kind of like a breaking of the agreement. If he needs to bring in other people, it's like, well, you know, let's just do our thing here, and then you can think about it. You know, yeah, because I'm a boundary person. I am a good fences make good neighbors kind of person, and if I can't trust the other person to abide by the rules that we agreed with, and I'm not going to bring up my marriage right now, my ex-marriage right now, I'm not going to do that. But if we can't agree by the rules, then what are we doing? Then what do we do?
Yeah. To be fair, he asked me if he could bring them on.
Okay.
So.
Yeah.
Is this
But
called
yeah,
there, Cindy? I'm trying to remember the name of the movement.
Dawa.
Dawa,
Yeah.
Dawah.
Okay.
Which actually, yes.
I had an article, but it's on my
It's okay.
personal computer. But if you type Dawa movement, you should be able to get it pretty quick.
Do you think it's a response to the Daesh movement that, although they don't call themselves that, it's Islamicists that are ready to use armies or violence to spread the dominance of Islam, and so that the Dawa group has come about trying to use gentleness instead?
I don't know. From what I read, they were both living at the same time, but at this time the Dawa movement was very small. So I don't know if this if IS has an impact.
So
You know, religious groups they expand and shrink for different reasons. It's very hard to usually find only one reason. But in this case, I really don't know.
So what happened when these other people came on to chat with you about the Kalam and inductive versus? I mean, because to me, it sounds like it would be a shit show. It sounds like, and by your smile, it sounds like it rapidly devolved.
Yes, because so they have this view that you can prove something in reality only by philosophical arguments, which is false.
So
Say it again. What?
So say that again slowly, so my stupid ears can make sense of that.
So they believe and they try to argue that you can make claims about reality only with philosophical arguments.
So
Only
no
with
math.
philosophical arguments?
Yes. The problem is if you have a syllogism, let's say the structure is fine, the argument is valid, then you need to check whether the premises are true or not. That's how you determine if an argument, at least a deductive argument, is true. But you cannot have premises that don't speak about the real world and then the conclusion talking about the real world. That doesn't work. The conclusion only applies to the premises.
Yeah. So, in other words, once again, going through the basics, it's like you can have a logically coherent argument, but it has absolutely no bearing in reality whatsoever.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I can say, for example, unicorns have 4 legs. Mammals have 4 legs, therefore unicorns are mammals. The structure of the argument is good. The argument is valid.
Yeah, yeah.
But since unicorns don't exist, then the argument is not sound.
Okay, so you're in this conversation. They tell you that the only way that you can know reality is by.
No, it's not the only way. It's just you can make assumptions about reality just with philosophical arguments, and they try to claim that the kalam is not. It's a philosophical argument because you can prove the premises. So it's a philosophical argument, but since it's valid, then it tells something about reality. That's their vision. At least that's what I understood of what they were saying.
And how did they respond when you, responded to that?
They, to be fair, they were mostly polite and respectful. I will give them that. But they didn't agree, and they asked my qualification about why should they believe me when I talk about logic, and I said you don't. I have a book here which is the basic of logics, and it's a book used by universities to teach logic, so you can go there. And so I showed pages. I screenshot pages and showed them. But yeah, this is the problem. When you talk with 99% of theists and probably 95% of atheists, they don't have the basics of logic. They don't know what an argument is for. They don't know how they work. They don't know how you prove them right or wrong. And so because of that, you can have a discussion, because it's like having a discussion with someone about a concept, and each one has a different understanding of the concept. The discussion is pointless.
Yeah.
Or with words with different meanings from two people. It's,
you know what I'm intrigued at, and ask me and tell me if you ask them this question. What if you have two logically coherent philosophical arguments, statements, but they contradict each other? What happens?
The universe explodes.
I was gonna say that, Big Zebra. I was gonna say it'd be like matter and antimatter.
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
Don't do it. We'll all die.
Don't do it.
If they are complete opposite, perfect opposite, then one of them is wrong by definition.
Oh no, they could both be wrong.
Oh, they could
They,
both.
they can, yeah, they can be both be wrong. Yeah.
So yeah, it and my cheap go-to is this reductio ad absurdum stuff. That's what I always like to carry in my back pocket, because that's what I would be wondering. It's like, what if you have totally different statements that are still coherent, still logically valid? I mean,
Yeah.
if they can't both be true, doesn't mean that your reasoning is your assessment that logically coherent arguments are obviously truthful, are reliable. I mean, that's like third grade shit there. That's what that is.
Yeah. So I also have a good news. Today I got recruited for a project to teach in schools and universities.
That's right.
Different from the one I talked about earlier.
Oh.
It's a separate thing, but it might fit very nicely with what I have in plan already. So that's going to be cool. So I'm going to talk about my job and also maybe critical thinking if schools are interested.
So what age group are you talking about?
I'd say 14 to 18, 19.
Good.
Yeah, it is very good. My long term hope or dream or whatever you want to call it is to make sure that critical thinking or rational thinking is taught very early at school, maybe even kindergarten. The first principle can be taught in kindergarten, like intellectual honesty, skepticism. The very basics, they can be taught very, very, very early.
If you just get kids to start thinking about how do you know what you know, that alone, I mean, that creates like this positive feedback loop.
Critical thinking skills. Yeah, whenever I got those books from my boys when they were younger, I was like really excited to dive into them myself. I was like, oh, let me understand this stuff.
So Cindy, back to Khalil. Do you have any more? Do you have are you currently conversing with him at all?
Not anymore.
No.
I had a chat with him, an exchange on Facebook a couple months ago, I think. And every time I disagree with him, he comes back to one thing: is when he announced his conversion, I said on this Facebook post that he was abusive in these discussions I mentioned earlier, and that was not true. I misspoke, and that wasn't true, and I apologized right away, just below that. But since then, every time I disagree with him, he brings that on, and he says, "Yeah, you've been accusing me of false things, not one thing, but things plural. I have the screenshots if you want," and every time it ends up like this. So I really would like to be able to talk with him, but just one-on-one. But I don't think he would be able to get past this this aggressive mind he's been developing in the last months.
Hopefully he bottoms out. That's what we say in the addiction business. Maybe he'll find his bottom and snap out of it. Probably not, but maybe.
I have an assumption or an idea. I have no idea if it's true, but I think one reason like he went that way is because he wasn't getting the attention from other like-minded atheists, and he wasn't really he just seems like one of those kids who would do what is cool, and what his buddies want him to do.
And no
I
one,
think it's possible. But what I know is that they used because he talked several times about his PTSD because of what he saw in the army, and I think I'm almost sure that they used that against him.
yeah, 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 yeah. Yeah, that's interesting.
And what you just said, Tobin, might be included in this because this PTSD sometimes, and like all mental illnesses, they tend to isolate you. At
Yeah,
least your perception, you feel like you're isolating yourself, or that people around you are isolating you, and
mm,
so that might have been a factor in this.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Well,
I
go ahead, go ahead, Zebra.
just a little bit of bad news. I don't know if this is true, but chemical weapons may have been used against the Ukrainians in Mariupol.
I heard I heard something about that yesterday. For to get the kind of results that the Russians are hoping for, if they're going to shifting gears completely for a second or two, if they were going to clear out all the fighters in
Mm.
Mariupol, they would have to use an insane amount of chemical weapons. Would they use maybe chemical weapons on a small scale? I wouldn't put it past the Russians. They've done it before. But yeah,
Mm.
yeah, this is just smacks of desperation on the Russians' part.
Well, I say it because it marks, like I don't think NATO would intervene in a more direct way, but using chemical weapons or irradiation
Yep.
of people, like dirty bombs or actual atomic weapons,
Yep.
would definitely be a line that could trigger a NATO response.
Well, yeah,
I don't think it will, but I think it's possible.
and it isn't all just an all or nothing thing. There are different kinds of there's different gradients of responses, right?
Mm.
There's the sending tanks into Ukraine that the Ukrainians can use, training Ukrainian jet fighters in NATO territory. There's different types of escalation that it isn't, like I said, all or none.
4.6 millions deported, not deported, but escapes and refugees so far from Ukraine. That's a lot.
Yeah, yeah. And also, I heard that there's been rumors. I know we talked about it on the show before, but there seem to be more substantive rumors that Finland and Sweden might be applying into NATO by the summer or sometime during the summer,
Mm.
which is positive. Yeah.
Yeah, I'd like to see both nations do it at the exact same time
Yeah.
and sooner rather than later, like right
Well,
now.
it's better to do it now while the Russians are tied down in Ukraine.
Yeah,
You know, if they're going to do it, this is the time to do it.
it's just so disheartening. I'm worried that the West will have to learn again that if someone takes a little, they will take a lot.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
this business about, well, they're going to retreat and they'll just hold on to Donbass. And I say no. I think they should be completely pushed out of the Ukraine as well as Crimea. It's just, they can't be allowed.
Remember what happened in Afghanistan. I'm not saying that this is going to be the exact same thing that happened to the Soviet Union in Afghanistan, but they just got bled dry in Afghanistan. And, history doesn't repeat itself, but it does have a tendency to rhyme. And a lot of that's going on right now in Ukraine.
Maybe NATO is thinking the long game. Since the Ukrainians are winning, they're going to give them enough in the way of supplies so that Russia is bled dry, but not enough to, trigger anything worse.
As the mythicals, Lao Tzu, the man supposedly who wrote the Tao Te Ching, would say that the way to cook, the way of the Tao is like cooking a small fish. You cannot put too much heat on it. You cannot put too little heat on it. You have to do it just right. You have to get it into the baby bear zone. And I think that's what NATO is trying to do. Trying to
Baby bear zone? I've never heard of it.
you got to do the baby, the baby bear zone, right? Not too hard, not too soft.
Goldilocks zone, or yeah,
Right.
So that's it. This is my this. It's a half an hour. We've done a half an hour. This has been my word salad. Thank you, Cindy Plaza, for making some sense out of the world. Big Zebra, thank you, and Tobin, thank you too. Everyone, same thing tomorrow. Doing the thing.
Thanks for doing this.
Shamala Hamla.
Bye.
Yeah.